Hello all, Jeff here with a new video. I know I've had a bit of a break, but I hope everyone's enjoyed 2022 so far. The reason for the break, I was competing in the Logitech McLaren G challenge. What you're going to see today is my point of view of the Wildcard Finals in the Asia Pacific region. So here, the top three would make it to the sports car grand final for Asia Pacific. There was only 8 of us, but it was very close, intense racing. Now, previously, I was in the semi-finals for all 3 divisions, that is stock car, open wheel, and sports car. All 3 ended badly. Let's just explain why. So, first up was the open wheel division. I came ninth at Bathurst, which wasn't bad, but Suzuka, I just suck around there, and I kept spinning at turns 1 and 2 all on my own. So, of course, that was game over from that sense. At least we got the wildcard finals to fall back on. In terms of stock car and open wheel, was the top 10 that goes through to the grand final. Stock car was looking alright, battling for 10s with Matthew Smith. Then we tangled and I ended up getting sent into the fence. That was my race done, and I thought I was going to be a chance at New Hampshire, to be honest. And the second race, I finished 6th at Talladega, 11th in points. Great. Then open wheel comes along. So the second race I finished 8th at Hockenheim, which wasn't too bad just from dodging carnage. But the race before at Suzuka, well, people were just smashing into each other on the main straight even before we get to turn 1, and unfortunately I got caught up in it. So semi-finals were a complete disaster. Wildcards are here, so let's see what we can muster out of this.
So race 1 would be at Suzuka. Yep, my bogey track. So in the rounds earlier in the year, I copped a ton of track limit penalties that I wasn't getting in practice, and then as you saw in the semi-final, well, I kept spinning pretty much right here. So spent a fair bit of time trying to get up to speed. I knew out of the 3 tracks, Suzuka was always going to be the weakest of the 3. So it was all about just keeping our noses clean and going from there. So the guys look out for a Miss Kuti, who started on pole, as well as Davlish Singh, as well as Muhammad Ali, who recently finished 4th in the Le Mans 24-hour virtual. If you are watching it, there's a 5% chance you are watching this. Well, congratulations, mate. That is just an amazing effort by yourself, Josh, Alex Young, and everyone at Axel Sport. Anyway, so we get off to a nice, clean start for lap 1. No incidents at all from anybody, which was happy days. We go into the hairpin, hard onto the brakes, but Jin Massington just goes a little late on the brakes and just sends me spinning. So our race is, pretty much screwed because of this. So on board with Maswood and Jin, so hard onto the brakes. He got very, very late on the brakes and just gives me a slight little tap, but it was enough to send me back into last place. And it's not like the semi-finals that's got like 20 or 30 people, so there's only 8 of us, so, it could be worse if there was like 15, 16, well, I'd be screwed in this sense. However, Sam Bugden realises that I'm a lot quicker, so he just lets things through, so that's really good sportsmanship from him. So, we progress to later on in the race. As you can see, Rusley out of the S, he just loses it, and that is a very, very good save from him, so very, very well done there, because it's very easy to spin these things if you don't know what you're doing. But as you can see, I'm quite clearly quicker than him as well. So as we go into the Degners, DP1 takes it very nicely indeed. I don't know if he outbrakes himself in the second Degner or just decides to just let me go, because he did get a bit of sand and grass there, so I don't know if that was just him getting out of my way, but it would end up being a 6th position, sadly for me. So it'd be Kuti to win the race, Alif 2nd, Matt McEwen 3rd, Davlish Singh 4th, Jin Massington, who punted me, 5th, and then myself in 6th. So let's bring on Zandvoort. So I was 3rd for qualifying for most of the session until Davlish Singh on my right picked me at the post in the last minute. But it's go time as we go into Tarzan corner. Davlish sends one on Alif, and then gives a Miss Kuti a shove and puts him straight into the lead. So a bit dirty there, but he's managed to hold on to the lead into turns 2 and 3. So there you go. From my point of view, it was mainly just just keep my nose clean and try and get as close to these guys as possible, because there aren't many passing opportunities at Zandvoort, although a Myth takes an interesting line there, which has given a Leaf a chance at grabbing second place if he wants it. But you know, Zandvoort isn't that great for passing. It's really Tarzan corner, turn 1. I mean, obviously you can capitalise in many places if people make mistakes, so you just have to wait and see what happens. But as you notice, Rusley behind, he had a very good qualifying for Zandvoort, because you know he wasn't that great at Suzuka, so he's obviously done a fair few laps around Zandvoort. So yeah, I mean, I felt my weakness at Zandvoort was just a tyre wear for some reason, that I wasn't really hopping many other tracks. But anyway, you know, there's not much you can do about that. But we'll just show you the complete lap. So as you saw, turn 3 was the old version, and the last turn is not the high banking version that you get these days. So it's basically the 2018, early 2019 layout of Zandvoort. So yes, that corner's flat, but you have to be fully committed or you just send yourself into the fence. Anyway, let's check out a replay at the start. So on board with Devilish Thing at the start. So turn 1 puts on a nice move on a Leaf, and then just gives a Myth a shove. And normally in this case, if you pass on after hitting him, well, you're redressed, but for some reason he hasn't done that. But anyway, he has held on to the lead as we fast forward to later on in the race. As you can see, 7 minutes to go. As you see, I was losing track of the top 3, but as you're about to see with the lap times, so as 35.4, 35.9, 35.7, 35.5, so we're all very, very consistent. So it's basically, from my point of view, I just wasn't consistent enough, if that makes sense. I mean, there's still like 6 and a bit minutes to go, but you know, I do slowly get back to the 3 on this lap. I do remember that. But as you can see, my left tyres, the left front and the left rear, yeah, tyre wear is a huge issue here at Zandvoort. That's probably just mainly because of the setup work. You know, I'm not much of a setup guy. I'm not that great with setups. But yeah, in regards to that move Devilish Singh did, the commentators John Sargent and Luke Crane weren't very fond of that at all. So, you know, I did watch back on the commentary and hear what they had to say about it. But Devilish is quite clearly very quick. So, as you can see, we are starting to make some ground on these guys. So just a question of waiting for mistakes. So quite clearly, we're 1.5 seconds behind a lead. We're not going to be able to just send it on some savage dives. Now, at this APAC here at Chicane, I felt I wasn't taking it smoothly enough. So I did feel I was losing a bit of ground on the 3, probably on that corner alone. But you know, we did gain a little bit there, but at the end of the day, it just wasn't enough. So we will check the lap times here. So the average 35.4, 35.3, 35.6, 35.1 from myself. So that was my best lap of all. So as you can see, we were gaining time. It was just, you know, the case that Tarzan corner is really your only legit passing opportunity. Or, well, I guess the chicane is as well. But it was just a case of not being able to find a proper place to pass someone. And as you can see, yeah, we're a second behind a Leaf, but it's not enough around here. That's the end of the story. And as you can see in the last few laps, we've lost touch a fair bit, and it's a shame because you look at the top 3 guys, they are right close to each other. So it's just a shame we weren't properly a part of this as well. But anyway, it would end up being Devilish Singh first, a Myth Cootie second, a Leaf third, and myself in 4th place. I figured at the points, if I was to get in the top 3 after this race, I would have to win and for a Leaf to come 4th. So, yeah, a tough ask at Kyalami after the wreck I had earlier in the year. But it was just a case of seeing what happens here. So, in practice, the best time I did around this track would have put me on pole position. Instead, we're going to be 3rd. We are ahead of a Leaf though, but it's just a case of, before, not getting involved in wrecks, especially turn 3, because if you've seen my last video at Kyalami, there was a massive wreck right there and we pretty much ruined our race. Luckily, we've all kept our noses clean, all 8 of us, so happy days from that point of view. So as you can see, a Leaf is handing us behind. Davlish and a Myth, they've got off to a really nice start in the front row. I just kind of wish that I was on the front row as well, because, you know, I probably could have had a chance of getting into the regional grand final without having to do the hard work, especially if I started pole, because, you know, a Leaf started 4th. So anyway, showing you a whole lap around Kyalami, just in case you don't know the track. It's very, very technical. The curves are very hard as well, so you've got to keep that in mind. This hairpin here is very tricky braking point, so it's always weird to, you know, it's hard to figure out where you should be braking. Multiple lines out of there as well, that's another thing to note. So as we go towards the end of the lap, so we've got another tight hairpin here, and we're about to reach the most treacherous corner of all, Cheetah, because on the inside curve, well, it's the sausage curve of death. Look, it's pretty much at the beginning of the curve, and if you get off too much on the exit curve, well, that's going to send you into the fence. So yeah, it's very treacherous here, but it wasn't until later on in the race where the fireworks started. So with 5 minutes to go, Davlish Singer's got a nice buffer on a Myth Cootie, but as we go into this tight right-handed hairpin, he must have got a wheel on the curve or on the grass, because he's just going to send himself on the inside here, because we're going to think about making the move. He didn't give me enough space, 2 wheels on the grass, and then I just sent myself into the sausage curve of death. So we're down to 4th as a result of all that, because it kind of harmed my line because of all that. But yeah, not much you can do. I mean, he did shove me off the track, let's be honest. Quite clearly didn't see me coming. Dead set shame, because we could have grabbed 2nd place. I mean, it was my fault for hitting the sausage curve of death, let's be honest. But let's check out the replay of that. So Davlish, comfortable lead, and he gets on this outside curve. It's obviously just, you know, snagged the edge of the tyre, and it just sent him spinning. So lead gone, and here I come. As you can see, you know, I've been given no room whatsoever. I didn't know if we were going to go too wide or what the go was. I mean, that was my bad, but pandemonium has started all because of what happened to Davlish. So let's move on to later on in the race, albeit 1 lap later. So as you can see, we're still keeping touch of Davlish and a Leaf. Davlish gone very wide out of the hairpin, and now it's his turn to touch the sausage curve of death, eat some gravel, and we're going to get by him, but he's still on the inside of the last turn. Think about it, he shoved me off the track before, so let's just use all that road, even though it's a bit dirty, but whatever. You know, yeah, a bit of gamesmanship. So here we go, we get the run on him, but I mean, it's just a case of not moving to the left enough there, because otherwise I could have shut the door on him. So he's got the inside line here, and now in the turn 3, I thought I better back off after what happened to me in, what was it, round 2 of the G Challenge, where there was like a 10-car wreck. But let's go back on board with Davlish Singh. So taking it very wide out of this hairpin, and yeah, he just turned a bit too early like I did and hit the sausage curve of death. So again, it's going to be side by side between both of us. So yeah, he did get the inside for that, but as you can see, I'm just like, you know what, stuff this. I've already been hampered earlier on. Let's just take advantage of whatever concrete's there. And I did have the run on him there, but it's just a case of, you know, if I took it really shallow into turn 2, well, it just wasn't going to work. And in the same sense, well, I knew what happens here, so we had no choice but to back off, unfortunately. But that was pretty much the end of that race. Although on the penultimate lap, I would end up hitting the sausage curve of death for the 2nd time. We did well to get away from that tyre wall though. And then on the last lap, we steer clear of the sausage curve of death. Instead, we eat a bit of grass, didn't really hurt us too much, but Matthew McEwen is going to come from out of nowhere and nearly take us out. It would end up being a Myth Cootie winning this race, a Leaf 2nd. It would end up being me being 3rd because of a penalty Davlish Singh got, but unfortunately that was nowhere near enough to make the regional grand final.
So there you have it. I would end up finishing 4th in points, so just missing out on making it to the sports car grand final. I'm disappointed about it, not making any of the grand finals, but in the same sense, I'm also very proud of how I drove, mainly because, you know, Amizukuti, Davlish Singh, they are very quick. And also you have a Leaf, who recently came 4th with the Axel Sport team in the Le Mans 24-hour virtual. Amazing. The fact that I'm keeping up with those guys gives me confidence if the 2022 Logitech G Challenge happens. So, yeah, I mean, it was good fun, those races. Hard work. You know, as I said, not happy that I didn't make it through the granny, but I'm proud of how I drove because that sports car has always been my worst division of the 3. So anyway, there you have it. So if you did like the video, I appreciate giving me the thumbs up. Leave a comment, let me know what you think. And if you do want to see more of my content, maybe consider subscribing and tapping the notification icon. Anyway, this is Jeff here. Happy racing. Cheers and goodbye.